Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. In a widely circulated op-ed in the New York Times, Elizabeth Diaz described a speech that then presidential candidate Donald Trump gave at a small evangelical college in Dordt University in Center City, Iowa. And the most famous or infamous remark that Donald Trump made in that 67-minute speech was that he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and wouldn't lose any voters. But what he said that day, what else he said that day, had, I believe, lasting significance. He said, "I will tell you that Christianity is under tremendous siege. And whether we want to talk about it or not, truth is we don't want to talk about it." And he said, Christians make up the overwhelming majority of the country. And he said, and yet we do not exert the power that we should have. And then raising his finger, he said, and if he were elected, Christianity will have that power. And I'm thinking, is this a major reason why 81% of evangelicals voted for him in 2016 and still support him? Perhaps. That he could save them from attack. Over and over, evangelicals were told that Christianity is under attack, especially their kind of Christianity. To be sure, the demographic shift in our society could be alarming, with the percentage of white Christians growing smaller in proportion to the total population. That's just a reality. But what we are witnessing, I believe, is the delusion of persecution, which evangelical leaders have been encouraging within their churches. And this is being done in a day when evangelicals enjoy a cultural and political prominence that I have not seen in my lifetime. Evangelicals are taught that criticism and ridicule of them, which I agree is far too much, is somehow the same as persecution. I beg to disagree. Saying that the ridicule and criticism is the same as persecution, I believe, desecrates the memory of true Christian martyrs through the centuries. The war that we hear about on Christmas so often is not the same as early Christians being thrown to the lions in a Roman Colosseum. It's not the same as Anabaptists burned at the stake for defying the spiritually oppressive union between church and state. In response to the feelings of being persecuted, what we see today among many Christians is wanting to embrace a campaign of Christian supremacy and power. To be sure, our nation is growing more secular, and less traditionally religious. But we must not make somehow secularization the great enemy and Christian rule somehow the solution. Rabbi Abraham Heschel said years ago, it's customary It is to blame secular science and anti-religious philosophy for the eclipse of religion in modern society. But it would be more honest, he said, to blame religion for its own defeats. Religion, Abraham Heschel said, has declined not because it has been refuted, but because it has become irrelevant, dull, oppressive, and insipid. Might we possibly today, we Christians, instead turn our attention to make our faith, rather than more powerful, how about perhaps just making it more beautiful and just and compassionate? A faith that ever strives to be more relevant to the real needs of people around our doorsteps that encircle this earth. But many Christians are fed the message that they are under siege and undergoing persecution. That's how many cults grow. They foment this sense of fear. They isolate people to certain snippets of information, and they follow that charismatic leader. So many Christians are being fed the message they're under siege and undergoing persecution. And many, as a result, have turned to the way of political power, choosing to rule rather than to serve. It has been a major temptation of the day, of the church, since the days of the Emperor Constantine, to embrace the way of political power, to pursue and put forth your message and your presence in society. That kind of power, crown, if you will, is what Jesus refused when he was in the wilderness. Essentially, the devil saying to Jesus, I will give you the power over the kingdoms of this earth if you just follow me. Jesus refused that way of power. Sadly, there are way too many Christians today who are eager to take it up in response to this sense of fear and persecution that's being parlayed before them. God help us to respond these days not out of fear but out of love. Easier said than done, I get it. But God help us to look at the ways of Christ and how he refused worldly power to put forth his message and instead chose the way of the cross. The way of unconditional love, of yes, suffering love for all of God's children, for all of us. May we choose the way of a servant rather than the way of power. God bless you. Because I know he has. And may we all find ways to share that blessing with our neighbor. Peace be with you. Always.